Welcome to the Social Living Podcast. Yeah, we look different, don't we, man? We're in
Yeah,
HD now.
leveling up. It's a new year,
we're
new
not, we're
us.
not, we're not, we're not just we're not just audio, we're not just voices anymore. You can see us live in the flesh. I liking this
People
right
put
now.
a voice to the face now.
Yeah, trust me. To be fair, we don't look that different to our icons, but it is what it is, man. But
Yeah,
yeah,
we've
man,
tried to stay on brand.
welcome. I'm Julian Green. My host Jam, man. You can take the show, man. You can take over.
Yeah, we're back, man. Back for another episode. New situation, new landscape for us. We're testing out something new. We're leveling up. So yeah, you definitely let us know what you think. And yeah, we
Yeah,
got a nice poddy for you today.
yeah, man. Big one. But first, let's kick it off with our weeks, man. How's your week been? How's life been treating you? Dad life.
Yeah, that life is it's good. No, it's good. I can't lie. Life is developing. He's speaking more. He went back to childminders for the first time in a month. So that's nice to kind of getting back into that routine. But yeah,
Nah.
work again, a busy week. I feel like work's just non-stop. I feel like every week we come back and we say the same thing. But yeah, another busy week. But enjoying it.
Oh, that's good, man. That is really good. Yeah, man. I think on my side, same as work. Busy. I'm doing so much demand outreach at the moment, just trying to get some new clients in there. I'm trying to niche it out as well. So I'm trying to focus on a specific industry. That's been good. Uh, Getting paid from TikTok now. I'm loving that.
Man.
So yeah, man, possibilities are endless, man. I just love the fact, like last week we spoke about it, how more and more people quitting their jobs, focusing on different things, giving you different avenues. And like for the longest time, I've been growing accounts on social media, and getting paid by as a content creator or digital creator. I just love it. Like, so it's good. So I'm trying to focus more on that at the same time, and just grow that side of things and see where it goes. So yeah, man,
Yeah, opportunities are out there, man.
yeah,
Just
trust
grasp
me,
them.
trust me. And today's episode 23. I'm sure you'll see it pop up on the screen. Uh, Episode 23, life as a social media manager. You know what? I know, like, technically our titles don't say social media manager, but essentially that's what it is that we do, isn't it? Like, from the outside world, we're basically like social media managers, regardless of whether executive or what level we are. We um we are involved in the management of social media in various different forms. And I just thought it'd be good to just kind of tell the truths about being a social media manager, the pros, the cons, what you like about the job, what you don't like about the job. Yeah, man, all that stuff. And the misconceptions as well. I know I messaged you earlier in the week and I said, oh, have you seen Emily in Paris? And I caught my missus watching it the other day, and I just thought, you know what? Like, this is wrong. Like, and worse, you know what it is as well, yeah? My clients would watch something like Emily in Paris and think, oh yeah, social media is easy. You know, all you have to do is snap a picture, post it up, put a couple hashtags, whatever hashtags you want to put, and it will just go viral. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's it. Client owners see this stuff and expect that instant results, and it's far from the truth.
It's
Far from the
far
truth.
from the truth. Far from the truth. I think, what should we just like uncover basically like what a social media manager is? So like what the role kind of entails, what it basically means. Because it can mean like multiple different things, like because a social media manager might not do everything in for example, scheduling posts. They might not themselves schedule a post, but they might have a team that schedules the post, for example. So scheduling posts is definitely part of the responsibility of a social media manager. They also oversee basically like the social media community. So it's understanding their audience as the kind of like one part of being a social media manager. And these are not things that you just like, you don't just have a knack for these things. There's like analytics and reports that show you who your audience is.
I
And
think, yeah, I think that's the thing. Like on paper, these responsibilities sound pretty simple and pretty straightforward, but in reality, it can be like as a task like scheduling posts for the right time and making sure your audience is live at that time. You're getting your post live. There's an act to it. It's not a simple task. And then if you're agency side and you've got 5 different clients that you're in control of, and they all have different posting times, or they might post on different channels at different times, and making sure you've got that right and your organization's on point. Like it's not an easy task, and that's just only one part of the job.
yeah, it is. Yeah, you're right. You're so right. And for me, like I've been working in social media for the last 2 years, and prior to that, it was more so advertising and mobile advertising. But me kind of running my own business, I already understand the hierarchies. I have different interns that kind of intern at the agency, and there is no way in hell that they could put forward a post without someone like myself checking over to ensure that there's no spelling mistakes, there's no like get understanding the bigger picture of is this on what's the word, like
On brand.
Yeah, is it on brand? Is it on brand? That's the right word. There's another word I'm thinking of, but I can't quite think of it. But yeah, is this on brand? Do you know what I mean? Does this make sense? Does this coincide with what the brand represents?
Again, yeah, I think just that. I think that's obviously another important part of the role, making sure your copywriting skills are on point and your tone of voice is right for the company you work for, or if you're agency side, the clients you're working for. Again, it's not an easy task, especially if you're agency side and you'll have clients that vary from all types of sectors, and to be able to get your tone of voice right for each sector it's not easy. It takes research, it takes good diving into communities, diving into Facebook groups, understanding how they speak, analyzing each website to understand what are their key terms, key phrases they want to include in their social copy. So again, it's all part of the job, and it sounds such a simple thing. Oh yeah, just write captions, just captions, and then you'll do a month, you'll do a content plan for a month, and then you realize you've got another month coming, and you got to think of new content and new captions, and that's when you start testing your vocabulary because you run out of words quick.
Yeah, trust me, you do, man. It's not easy, and like I always say this, especially to every intern, like don't come here thinking like this is just you're just managing some little coffee shop like social media posts. It's not like that, especially when you get into the big world, or the real world, should I say. It is not like that at all. Do you know what I mean? Like you're working part of a team who collectively need to understand and all be on the same page when it comes to brand. And there's also a level of understanding of your industry as well, because some people like might look at ASOS and be like, look, their post might get tons of likes, and then another company from a different industry, like it could be like automotive, like secondhand cars or something, and they're expecting the same kind of like engagement rate. It's 2 different industries. Each industry is going to have different engagement rates at that as well. So yeah, I think like, would you say like for you, Jam, as working in social as a social media manager, would you say that your day-to-days are similar, the same? Would you feel like, or do you feel like how would you describe your day-to-day?
I think it varies, I think working in the sector I work in, so within fashion, there's always something new to talk about. Weekly we have new requests and new pushes from the business, so that in itself kind of steers us in different directions. For example, this week there's a new trend in mini skirts, for example, and we've got to think about a concept, making sure the copy links to the copy links to the concept, and then that kind of dictates your week. Your week then becomes around that new trend, and then week after might be a new trend. It might be analyzing the previous week's stuff, and then that's when the reporting comes into it. So it's definitely it's I think people forget how analytical it is, and that's also a part of it. It's all nice making sure your content's great, but you've also got to see how it performs and what you can take from it, and kind of dissect the performance of it. But yeah, it varies. There's loads of different aspects within the job which kind of keeps you on your toes, and it keeps the days fun. And it's just that, as it depends who you work for and what the kind of structure's like. But being brand side, you get to kind of speak to a variety of different people in-house, and making sure you're all aligned, and there's that community family feel to your job, which is definitely important.
No, I think, yeah, like everything you just said, I couldn't agree with that more. I feel like even on my side, day to day can be very different, especially with the different types of clients. I remember at one time I had like a automotive client, then I'll have a beauty client. I even had like a psychological kind of change management client, and I had a restaurant, and like all working on these different types of posts in the same day. It was very exciting. At the time, we had like obviously ton of kind of interns supporting us, but no 2 days was the same, simply because each client had like different needs, and you're across everything. Do you know what I mean? But it'd be interesting for you, like obviously you're working with one brand. Do you ever feel like a day, like I don't know, like you like the months might feel repetitive? Like I know you said the days might feel different, but would you feel like, okay, we're at this time of the month again, we still got to do reports, da 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 da? Like, do you ever feel like there's a repetitive side to the job?
Yeah, definitely. And I think for me, I found it easier being in-house and brand side, and work for the brand the sizes I work for, because of the budgets and how much budgets can help you within your role. When I was agency side, I didn't have the tools that kind of made my role a bit more automated. But yeah, again, like you said, like at the start of the month, it's monthly reporting time. We now report weekly as well. So every Monday we report on the week before. So again, that does become a slightly repetitive, but just because okay, I guess because it's brand side and I've been brand side now, I've got tools in place where reporting could take me an hour to sort, and that's my monthly reporting done. But when I was agency side, reporting could take me like 4 or 5 days to making sure everything's accurate and cross-referencing everything on ads managers and organic, and that side does get repetitive, and you can kind of, you start to dread those moments within your working week or month. But apart from the reporting side, for me, everything else, it might be slightly repetitive, but it's the enjoyable parts. So once you get the reporting out of the way, you can kind of focus on the enjoyable parts of the role.
So let's give like the audience a little bit of an insight in terms of, like, obviously we're talking about reporting, like what would be included in those reports, and why would you be reporting on those things?
Okay, I'm just thinking about the report I've just done. So we'd report on follower growth or follower decline. And that it's strange how important that is to a bigger brand, because stuff like that will be taken into consideration when it comes to growth of the brand. If they're a publicly listed company, that's something that's taken into consideration. So there's pressures in that way in terms of meeting those KPIs. Like our KPI, I don't know if I should be saying this, but our KPI on for Superdry is quite high in terms of social growth. So there's a lot of pressure to kind of get there and finding different ways to get that growth. And then other things we report on would be total engagements for the month, and then comparing on a month before, comparing against competitors. Total reach, total impressions. Again, everything will be compared against the month before or the week before if you're doing weekly reports. The engagement rate, which for us is the total amount of engagements divided by the total reach times by 100, and it gives you a rating of how well your post has performed, and then that again gets compared against the week before, month before, or competitors.
Is that then, so the benchmarks, like kind of like against your competitors as opposed to maybe the industry or anything like that, like having like industry benchmarks maybe?
That we'll report on varied things. So we have our KPI, which is probably the most important, which is in consideration, which is compared against our competitors as well as the industry benchmark. So yeah, our main one is the KPIs, because that is what but people higher up within the business kind of take an interest in. But then for us internally within the team, we then compare against competitors and benchmarks just to make sure we're on the right level, doing the right things.
Yeah, no, you know what? Like, I hope that kind of gives people from the outside looking in like a little bit of an indication of kind of how detailed we have to go in when it comes to social media, because sometimes people won't even consider that aspect of the job. There are, in some agencies, some businesses, you have a whole basically analytics team to be able to tell you, you know, what posts you should be focusing on, what times of the year. Like, you start to figure out trends on a year by year basis. This time of year this happens, or after a certain event maybe we should or maybe we shouldn't post, you know, things like that. Like, they could be big like social economic I guess events that could happen, and there might be times where you should or you shouldn't post. It could be like, okay, when Boris Johnson's about to do an announcement, let's not really do something now. And, you know, but it's backed by analytics to ensure whether you should or you shouldn't post around that time, or whether you should or shouldn't run a campaign around that time. We've even seen like the likes of like footballers and stuff. They have social media managers as well. And we've seen the likes of like, you know, Paul Pogba and Jose Mourinho. They've had issues, and Paul Pogba's like, I think it was a day that Jose Mourinho got fired, and he posted, I can't remember. It was like it was an ad campaign. I think was it by Adidas? I think it was. But it was like just the wrong timing. Do you know what I mean? And then, but then you could argue that it might have worked in his favor because it was the wrong timing. But then his page probably blew up, and then he got loads more followers and engagement. But then, from a brand perspective, it might not look so great. Do you know what I mean?
You kind of got to read the room in like a social term, I guess, and kind of understand where things are in the world and maybe in your sector, even if it's every day or every month or every week, just so you know not to post sensitive content that might be quite sensitive at that time. For example, the last year with the Black Square for Black Lives Matter, like what companies stance, people that aren't people, you could kind of tell the companies that didn't have a good social media team because they weren't sensitive of that time, and you would see their sales posts within 10 different Black Squares from other brands and other people you follow, and that kind of shows the insensitivity there. So definitely being able to read that room and staying on top of what's trending is another important thing.
Yeah, and it also along with that is also why you might need a diverse team as well, because sometimes if a team is not so diverse, they might not be able to understand how to read that room, and you need someone who understands that room to be able to suggest what the best way is to do that. And that doesn't necessarily mean that someone from an ethnic minority has to be that person, but it could just be someone who just understands. Sorry, that's one of Killian's toys. That's that life. But it might just need to be someone who just understands and kind of maybe understands like a multicultural kind of lifestyle, so to speak, and kind of go from there. You know? So yeah, you just have to do it that way at times.
For sure.
Let's jump into kind of social media and the skills that you probably need to have. My first one is, I already kind of mentioned it, but it is, you do need to have a kind of like data-driven mindset. So it's understanding what works, and if it is backed by numbers, then you're along the right side. Like we work with a beauty salon, and we know that when we go hard towards payday, that, you know, 9 times out of 10 she's going to be booked up that week, and we focus on that heavily, but the numbers suggest that. So we do a lot of cross-referencing between our numbers and her numbers. So sometimes what we post might not be able to be tracked based on like a purchase, but it can be tracked based on her sales over the course of the month, in line with how we're posting, and maybe phone calls, text messages, DMs for appointments or appointment bookings. And you see a nice correlation that when we're posting, doing more videos and more, I guess, results based marketing on social media, it results in more sales. So we'll use that every single time. And I'm sure it's the same with other businesses as well, which is like a very simple rule of thumb. But I feel like sometimes that might be misconstrued, especially when it comes to the outside looking in. They don't understand that we're actually looking at data to be able to make some of these decisions that we make. But you do have to be like data driven.
No, definitely. And the more you go into the role, like say if you start off in an entry level role, you might start off with all the organic side first, and then as you kind of develop and build on your skill set, you start entering into the world of ads, and that's where it mainly is data driven, numbers, making sure there's correlations and things match up, and keep an eye on your cost per results and ROAS and all everything else that comes with it. So yeah.
And do you want to quickly explain ROAS? Because obviously we might be talking to people who have no idea what ROAS is. Obviously, social media managers, we completely understand. But if you want to like just give a quick definition.
So it's your return on your actual spend on your investment. I'm not even going to try to do quick maths or think of an example, but if you were to spend £100 on ads and you made £300 on sales, I don't even know if this is the right maths. Your ROAS would be around 3 because it's 3 times the value. So it's making sure that your ROAS is kind of more than what you're spending, and as a rule of thumb, you kind of want it to be around 3 times as much as you're spending. Not always possible, depending on the brand. The time of the year, there's so many external factors that can kind of get away of getting a good ROAS. It might not always be down to the creative or the strategy. Like there's other external factors, but yeah, trying to tick off a list of what you feel like you might need changing and trying A/B testing just to kind of improve that. ROAS is. It sounds a technical term, but once you dive into that world, it will become secondhand to you.
Yeah. So you're almost like a doctor. So it's your return on ad spend is what ROAS means. And you kind of like, if your ROAS isn't at the benchmark that you want it to be, you're always going to want it to be more than what you're spending. So you always want your ad spend to be, your return on ad spend, you always want it to be higher than what it is that you're spending. So you always want to make sure that you're making a return on the money that you're spending. Otherwise, it's not working. But you also have to do like a process of elimination to make sure, like when you're trying to like troubleshoot it, like Jamel mentioned, it could be a creative, it could be a button on one of the links is not working, the links is not working, the pixel tracker is not working. There's so many different technical things that could go wrong with it, but things might not be working in the background. You have to use process of elimination to try and figure out what might work. And then when you do find that thing that works, you just have to go hard on that one thing and go in about it that way. And again, this is probably another element of social media management that isn't really spoken about unless you're really in that industry. So there are times when I'm talking to like I guess potential clients, and they just don't understand that all this kind of like that goes into like a post or a ad campaign. They just think, you just get the ad out and then just make me the money. And there's so many different things and numbers that go behind it. And that's why we always say, especially at the agency, and I know you worked agency side as well, but you always kind of want a minimum term with a client. It can't just be like 30 days to see how it works and then go from there. You have to kind of like sit with that account for at least like 3 to 6 months. If you can get a year, but you want a minimum term of at least 3 months to kind of understand the industry, do a lot of learning and kind of go from there. And then you can make educated decisions like following the next 3 months. So after the first 3 months, you should be able to grow that second quarter. If you look at it in like over a year period, that first quarter is you learning, and then the next one, that's where you should see the growth, because you're making educated decisions based on the previous 3 months. So yeah, I guess one sense or one skill that you need to have when it comes to being a social media manager is you have to be data driven in order to make kind of decisions. So
Definitely.
yeah, that's thing. Another skill I got here as well, you have to be creative. I think I think for most people this is the fun part. Some people might just think, oh, creative, and they might think, oh, memes. Yeah, just memes. You got to get on the memes straight away. Do you know what I mean? Like certain things are happening, and you know what? There are definitely some accounts that are just brilliant. Like what's that? Nando's, they're great at it. I think Gymshark's pretty good. IKEA, I think they're great as well. Like there's certain memes that they do, and it's just like it's brilliant. Like I don't know if you remember, it was like 2 years ago. I think there was like someone that was in Congress in the US, and he was, it was he an ex-president, I think, and he was just sitting on a chair.
Oh
Then like
yeah, that
him in
blew
the
up.
chair,
Yeah,
it blew up. But then IKEA, they put out an ad of that chair.
yeah.
They cool, and that the chairs that the guy's name or something. It's just like, but it's still written in like Swedish or whatever.
Yeah,
It's
I
very
think
funny.
that's the benefit of socials as well to brands, because it kind of gives them that personality. Like you've seen it from even the likes of like Aldi, Lidl, KFC, Marks and Spencers. Like their social accounts pop off because their account managers have been able to have the freedom to kind of show some type of personality, and it kind of helps connect to the audience they're looking to go after. But before, marketing was a bit more regimented, a bit more corporate and formal, and it was kind of tough to get that brand personality out there. But we've seen it with IKEA, like you said, and other brands kind of take a different approach to traditional marketing and be a bit more out there with what they're doing, and it's worked for them. It's worked.
Yeah, it's a key element. Like you have to be creative in these ways. Like it helps you stay relevant for sure, and it helps you build that community. And essentially, that's what you want when it comes to social media. The fact that you have followers, the fact that you have people commenting on posts and things like that, you're looking for that community, and that community, whether your aim is to sell to them, you want to engage with them and tell them about your products, and you have to be creative in it in order to do that. And I think it's really important. Like, and creative is in different ways. So memes is just one way. It could just be like your content creation can be creative in a different way, whether you start using different videographers, different styles. We've been creative in this sense by moving our podcast onto video format now, so you have to find different ways to kind of keep your audience engaged, and yeah, it's really, really important to do that. I know at agencies, even brand side, there's always that person who's just got these out there ideas, and they're able to execute it. And I think that's a skill in a different way. Like I like to think I got a lot of ideas, but sometimes I have no idea how I'm going to execute. But there's some people who, all right, we're going to do this, and they see the whole pathway of how they're going to execute, and those people are priceless, man.
No, it's definitely a special. It's like it's part of a team. Like I feel like having a well put together team includes people like that, and kind of letting them leave them to be free and in their own thoughts and creating their own concepts and kind of going through it with them. Sometimes you might need someone to maybe rein them in or kind of show them a different way to get to their idea. But having that creative person, that kind of, I call it like an ideas machine. Having that one person is definitely key within this role.
Yeah,
you need, like you said, you need to find different ways to stay relevant, stay on top, be creative with your captions, your content, your bio, then it links to the homepage. Like if you're so connected, but yeah, having that ideas person in your team is so important.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so big up all the social media managers that are creative, man. They have my full respect, and the ones that are creative and most importantly are able to execute. I think that's one of the best skills that you can have for sure. Next on my list, I got organized. I think you have to be extremely organized as a social media manager. Especially if you're going solo as well. If you're just like doing it independently as a consultant or something, you might have 8-10 clients or whatever. You have to be organized as hell. Like you have to make sure you're having regular meetings. You have to make sure that everything is being stayed up on top of, scheduled posts, planned posts, calendars, knowing what days or what days. I got emailed today. I get emails from like different, I guess, outlets, whether it be like later.com or whatever, and they tell you like certain days that are coming up. And it was like the 24th of January was like International Compliment Day. I was like, wow. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like all these different days, but there could be certain days that are actually relevant for your brand, and you can be creative around, you know, some of those days, which can actually work for you and help you connect with like your audience and your community. So yeah, I think organized is one. Would you say you're quite organized as a
yeah, I've
social
learned
media
to be, I've learned to be. I think coming into the role, I didn't expect the role to be such an organization admin role. I'm maybe not the role I'm in now, but maybe agency side. Big tip for new starters is when you get that WeTransfer link, download it ASAP. If you leave it until you're ready to post, that's gone, it's expired, and then you'll chase it. Download that link ASAP. But yeah, these are the stuff I've learned along the way, because that's been me a few times. I've not downloaded the link and I'm there chasing assets and asking where these assets are, and it's 2 hours before I need to post. So it's definitely even if you're not organized, the role will definitely force you to become organized and start looking at how you kind of set out reporting, especially with your agency side. In the start of the month is reporting time for everyone, and if you've got 5 different reports and there's different deadlines that all fall within the same week, you kind of need to prioritize different stuff. And just keeping on top of everything.
Yeah, man. Stay on top of that, man. Create your to-do lists. I'm a big fan of lists and just banging out to-do lists, and always choosing 3 things to do at a time. So like, I'm like, yeah, today I got to do this. Look at my whole list. What's the 3 most important things, and just knock those off. And if I can take off more, I'll take off more. If not, then I won't. But yeah, you have to be organized. You can't work in social and not be organized. It's gonna be awful. It's gonna be, yeah, it's just not gonna work. If you know what I mean. So yeah, organized.
And then there's also the part of the role where you need to be flexible as well. And as much as you can prepare and kind of stay on top of everything, there'll be spanners thrown in the works, and you've got to be reactive and jump to certain trends or whatever it might be, and kind of push that organization out of the way. You might have your next month scheduled, but there's a new trend, people are doing a new type of meme or whatever it might be. You need to kind of reschedule things and then being flexible at the same time. So yeah, it's definitely like you have to weigh up both sides, and as much as you need to be organized, you need to have the scope to be flexible if anything ever crops up.
Yeah, I was just about to, that was my next point as well. You have to be agile. So you have to be able to, there's going to be times where you have to change direction and you have to go full speed in that way, just because if you miss this train, it's not going to look good. And if you catch this train, you could grow a lot. And you want to be, I guess, you want to be at the head of that, and you want to be, if you're lucky enough that you do get recognition in your job, you want full credit for that as well. So like in COVID, I remember during COVID, I was working in advertising. We're trying to sell still trying to sell advertising as much as possible, but then suddenly Toilet Challenge come out. I got a toilet paper client. I'm like, yo, we need to get this mini game going, Toilet Paper Challenge, and we try and do, you got to think on your feet like that. Sometimes there's certain challenges that always happen, and if you can get something created first or be one of the first ones, like we've spoken about this before, like with Drake's album, the meme came out. Now everyone's time to everyone to react, and you want to kind of react within the first 24 to 48 hours. If it's past that, it's kind of you just look like you're following, you're not really leading. So you have to make sure, you're nimble, you're agile, and that you can change directions at any moment, because you're gonna have to at times. And that's when you decide, okay, this organization ain't gonna work, so I'm gonna have to go this way, go rogue a little bit. but and then you'll build on top of that, be more organized again, and then you have to go rogue again.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's definitely a balance in that as well.
And even with that, just to touch on that as well, like these opportunities might crop up, but the business you're working for, the client you're working for might not back it. So you've then got to try and sell it into them in a way where they see the benefit of whatever the trends you're trying to go after is. Because that's also the difficult part of the job, is you can see where the growth can come from, but the client you're working for, the brand you're working for, might not have the same. You might not agree on that right direction. So it's kind of either meeting in the middle or trying to convince them that this is the right way because reels are discoverable and you'll get more reach, or a social friendly caption is the right way to go because it will build more engagement. Even though the other guy or the other person might be like, oh, I don't want it to be like that because it's a bad look to the brand or whatever that might be. It's being able to sell that into them and letting them understand that we're doing this for a reason, and there's data that supports this. And I think, again, that's another thing with reporting and making sure your data is there, because it will help you win conversations and win battles. And you'll need it. You'll need it in terms of when it comes down to KPIs, because ultimately, if you're not hitting those KPIs, it comes on your head. So if you're able to push that forward in a different way that you feel is the right way, definitely find a way to do that.
100%. 100%. Now you put that down. I like the way you worded that one still. What else I got on my list? Last one, you have to be community orientated. I feel like sometimes this is missed. You know, it's funny because my business partner always cusses me out because every time we have a client meeting, I'm always selling. The aim here is to build a community. Like that is the main aim, and I live by those words when it comes to social, especially when I'm trying to bring in a new client. Like their first thing is like, I got 100 and let's say I got 10,000 followers, right? I've only get 5 likes. You're not engaged with your community. Like your community don't care. They'll blame everything. Like, the algorithm, the this, the that. You know,
I'm sick of that.
whatever.
I think we need to. If we had a few episodes ago, we were talking about what we need to ban this year. I think that's got I'm blaming an algorithm for everything within the role. I feel like that's such an easy cop out.
It is such an easy cop out. Some people don't even understand that. You know what? It might just be your content. The content's not good enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's so many different things, and the algorithm plays a part, but you can't blame it for everything. And the more, as a social media manager, as long as you always have your audience in mind, you should be all right. And I think that's the main thing. And you have to understand that sometimes what you like isn't what your audience likes as well. So you have to make sure that you're giving your audience is like your customers. You have to give them what they want. And if you're not doing that, you're going to quickly lose that audience. They're not going to care. They're not going to open your emails. They don't care. They'll just quickly unfollow you. Do you know what I mean? So you do have to make sure that you're DMing. I always put this on my clients as well, because obviously we have different services. We do manage DMs. It's an extra charge. But if you want to manage DMs yourself, you can do that. But you have to make sure you're staying on top of it. You can't be having DMs that are serious questions and you're not opening them. You open them like after 2 weeks, after a month. You know, you see the request, it's like 6 weeks ago. Pointless. Do you know what I mean? You need to engage with your brand. You need to engage with your audience. It's really, really important. And it's only going to help you grow. Do you know what I mean? People ask questions. People want to feel connected. It's personal. It's social media. Do you know what I mean? So you have to make sure that you're staying on top of those things for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. For any brand, I'd put that as their number one thing to do first, is engage that audience you'll either have or looking to go after. Because if you can't engage them, you can't sell to them. And I think people kind of don't think of the community part first. They just think, right, I've got this audience, let's sell, and force product in front of them. But they need to, within that strategy, they need to find a way to keep that audience engaged. And that means that, like, there's a reason for that. That means that audience are engaged with you will start seeing more of your content. So you can no longer blame the algorithm, because they'll be seeing your content, and your organic reach will improve.
Yeah.
But,
Oh, we got some technical
First
difficulties.
technical difficulty. No, we done well, man. 40 minutes in and we got our first one. Um, yeah, what was I saying?
No, yeah, yeah. I think it's really important. Like what you were saying there is basically like with a brand, there's like different touch points that they need to have with their customers. So you can't just like straight away force them down the end of the funnel and it's like product, 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 product. Sometimes you're gonna have to ease them in. Sometimes it's like, you know, we'll show them this video. Anyone who's actually seen this video, we'll show them this next piece of content. And you know, there's different strategies that you can go around doing this, as opposed to just thinking sell. Like you actually have to find a way to be able to like, okay, I'm gonna groom my audience, and then you start to realize that, you know, there's different touch points. Let's say you have 10 touch points. Some people might buy after your first touch point. Oh, they see the product, they see someone wearing it, I'm gonna go purchase. But some other people might need the 10th touch point, which could be they've seen the video, they've seen a banner, they've seen it on another, like they've been retargeted like on YouTube or something. Then they've gone to the website, they've added something to the basket, they've left it in the basket for a week. Then, you know, they've seen another ad, email, like there's all these different touch points, and then they purchase. And you know, you got to understand that there are all those different types of customers and they're all just as valuable. It's just that what influences their decision is all their decision is influenced at different points, but they all are just as valuable, even though they're at different entry points. And you can't just take the same, I guess, strategy for like each customer. You have to understand that, okay, certain customers are going to come at certain points. And I think that's really really important to understand. And from some of the conversations I've had, especially on a more local level, that's not understood. You know, sometimes it just I'm talking and they just not getting it. They just was like, so can I get 100k followers?
Like, you'll pitch. Honestly, you'll do these pitches and you'll have these hour calls and hour sessions explaining the role, explaining everything, and then they hit you with that question. So like, okay, cool. So when am I expecting that 100k? Like, what? Do you not just hear what I just like? There's a strategy to get there.
Well, yeah, trust me.
That's the fun of the role, I guess.
Yeah, it is. It is. What would you say is the key to success, like the key to being successful as a social media manager? I know we've spoken about the responsibilities, the roles, and the skills that you need to have, but if there was like one or two things that you would say, right, if you do this, you'll be good. Like if you know your platform, you know Instagram, you'll be good. Like if you know TikTok, you'll be good. If you know what I mean. What would you say?
Yeah, definitely. That's the number one for me is knowing the platform knowing the platform or platforms you're working on, and within that, it's understanding trends, understanding what works, what doesn't work, understanding how paid can support organic, understanding the like I said, the paid side, and then, like you said, managing communities and the importance of that. So yeah, knowing the platform and everything that comes within that is definitely a major thing. And then what else could make you successful? And then the analytical side, I guess that comes again within knowing the platform, but again, knowing the numbers, keeping on top of all of that. And then I guess like the softer side of it is like being able to stay agile and organize at the same time, as we spoke on. Like having a balance of the two will kind of keep you level-headed and on a pathway, like without too much distraction if things change, because that can happen often. Like we spoke before. Again, to the last point, what is? I think it's being able to work well as a team and communicate with the people you're working with. So you might be a social media manager, but you might not be in charge of creative. That might be something you have to brief in. So being able to effectively communicate that to a videographer, a photographer, a graphic designer, or whoever that might be, that's in charge of creating that content. you need to be able to do that well, and making sure that's an efficient process so that it's not taking too much of either your time or their time, and kind of being able to sell that into other people, whether it's a content creator, a manager, if you're reporting into a manager, just that side of the business of the role isn't considered for many people. They kind of see it as because it can be quite a lonely job if you're in charge of everything, and you're the main person for ads, doing the content, copywriting, and everything. You don't have that communication. But if you are within a team, being able to kind of explain your thought process effectively can save so much time. It means your creators will be better. It means your copy will be better, which will hopefully grow that account.
You touched on so many different things. I think one thing that I might add is you did kind of slightly touch on it, was the copywriting side of things. I feel like, especially when it comes to Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, I think have the ability to be able to write conversationally, but also professionally. I think that's like such a skill. Like, so many people have got it right. That so many brands have got it right, but then there's so many you just haven't got it right in it, in terms of brands. And I just feel like that is also another element that I feel like if you want to be a successful social media manager, if you can hone in on that skill as well, I feel like you just become so much more relatable, and it will be the source of like helping build a community and different things like that. Like it'll be how you advertise, the writing in that as well. I feel like it can be the source of so many different things. So outside of just the analytics, but in terms of the creative side of things, I feel like it could be the source of so many things. So yeah, I'd copy. What do you want it? Copywriting, that stuff. I was going to call it that. If you're able to do that, I think, yeah, brilliant. I think that's the main thing. Yeah, go on.
I was going to say, yeah, it's important because you need to kind of be able to make sure your tone of voice is right and speak in a way that your audience will understand and listen to. Because sometimes, like you said, what you think is right in your head isn't what your audience actually wants to hear, or it might not be put in a way your audience can understand. So making sure you're kind of on par and you're listening to you've done your audience research, and you understand what triggers them, what keeps them happy, what motivates them, and stuff like that, to fully double down on your copywriting so it resonates with the audience.
Yeah, man, I hit the nail on the head. I think we've covered almost, I don't want to say everything, because I know there's so much more you can talk about when it comes to social media management, but I guess I just hope the audience that don't have a clue about social media or social media management or social media managers, they got like a better understanding in terms of like what happens on a day-to-day, what it's like working for an agency, as well as like brand side as well. So yeah, I think we've covered a lot today, and yeah, I think hopefully today you can walk away knowing, yeah, you know what, like social media isn't what I thought it would be or what I thought it is. So yeah, man, big up Jam for that. I do have, the usual, the hot seat question. Hot seat question today is this one's for you, yeah. Would you rather never use social media again, or never watch TV shows or movies again? I'm going to include documentaries in that as well. So you're just basically not watching TV again.
I'm going to say this as if my role wasn't in social.
Okay, cool.
But I think I can scrap social media.
Yeah.
Oh, because again, because documentaries are important. I think TV shows are important for me. I feel like I just get more out of it than I do on social, but then you don't have that live, I guess, feed of updates and just staying on top of things and staying on trend. It's a difficult question, It's a difficult question, because I feel like I get a lot of information off social media that is valid and keeps me entertained. especially if you don't have the time to watch TV, and that's difficult. Well, actually, I might have to swap it around. I might have to say I stay on social because I feel like that can give me what I need throughout the day.
Yeah.
Like the time at the moment I have in my life for watching TV and movies or whatever it might be is in the evening, and it might be an hour of my day. Whereas I'm on social media for the rest of that time. So I think, yeah, I'm going back on my answer. I think I never watch TV shows or movies again, and I keep social.
That's good,
We got
man.
there in the end, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's locked it in.
You know what? You know what? I would say the same thing. Social media for sure, because I think for me, because with social media, I can control what I want to see as well. So I'm only gonna again just follow the people that I want to see and engage with the people that I want to engage with, right? So just as much as I might want to watch a documentary, I'm like, okay, I'll just follow Joe Rogan and get some information from there, as opposed to like, you know, that I'll go follow Arsenal's football team. Like I'll follow Arsenal on social as opposed to watching their games live or something like that. Or so, yeah, I feel like I could do. And you know what it is as well, that engagement you can get with social media, you can't replicate that with movies or TV.
No.
It's just not replicable. Like, so I'll probably just be watching people's lives and commenting. Like,
No, definitely.
That would be me.
Social offers so much now. Like you can get your news through social. You've got, even with football, like you've got highlights everywhere. Like you don't need the TV before. I have to wait up till 9:30, 10 o'clock every Saturday for match of the day.
Yeah.
Whereas now I could go on my phone, go on Arsenal's page, and the latest highlights are there. Highlights from training, insights in training.
I don't even need to watch other people's teams. Like,
no.
I can literally just watch my team. That's it. I don't care what happens with anybody else.
And you've got enough content there to satisfy you. Like there's so much back there. Social offers now. It kind of puts these major companies on the back burner. I've actually seen the likes of Sky and BT take a different approach over the last few years in terms of offering more free content on social, because that's where the landscape is at the moment.
Yeah, and not many people really care about I guess the live aspect sometimes. Like it's like you almost want it to be live for free, and then you want the engagement. Like they're even doing like social, like watching together, like watching along with other people, and you can just comment on the feeds. Like you can watch live matches on like YouTube and stuff, on Twitch and stuff, like all these different type of things. And it just shows the world's going in a different place because of social media. And again, whether it's good or bad, I don't know, but we're just seeing the influence of social media as it is today. And I there's the aspects I like and the aspects I don't like, but yeah, it's good to see that effect.
For sure.
Yeah, man.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, but yeah, we're gonna wrap that episode up there. Yeah, man, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for taking part in this new setup, new setup, new audio, new mics, new looks. You get to see us in person, but you get to see us in the flesh, kind of digitally. Who knows, we might load this up as an NFT. First ever social living podcast done by video. You can get the exclusive on Patreon and all that stuff.
All of that.
All of that. But don't forget to like, subscribe. I'm Julian Green, my co-host Jam Lawrence. Peace out, man.
Cool, man. Until next time.
Until next time.